Hey everybody, this is Jim.
And Jeremy.
And we are back. We are on show number 30. Before we get started, we got some news. We are changing the name of the podcast. Not that we want to, but it's no longer going to be Jim and Mike Talk Music. We've come up with No Good Music. Play on words, KNOW. So starting in September, we're going to change the name. So if you follow or subscribe, it's just a name change. We're not changing the show at all. We just want to give a heads up. And we'll mention this the next couple of podcasts. But again, September will be known as No Good Music. And the reason is because we feel we pretty much know what good music is. I mean,
hell yeah, we do.
Some of my music choices are questionable, and it also stems from, I'm in a couple music groups on Facebook, like 60s, 70s music, and I always see people posting that there's no good music out there. I don't know how old these people are, and we've said it before, you got to kind of search out the music. Literally, I think every day there's a new band, a new musician recording new music. You know, if you look at the new releases just for July, I mean, 80%, I've never heard of these bands.
I was going to say, and it's so easily accessible nowadays.
Yeah.
You got Apple or Spotify or YouTube. You can just search for these bands.
Yeah. And throughout the years, you know, bands are influenced by other bands. They may sound similar. There is good stuff out there. And working bands that are playing the clubs, small clubs, just, you know, doing what they love. So I say just go on YouTube, or you don't have Apple Music or Amazon Music or whatever.
Good music is not necessarily determined by popular airtime on the radio.
Yeah, it's not popular. So if you're going by popular, yeah, there's no good music on the top 40. So again, we're changing the name, and then today's show, we're going to be talking about movie soundtracks. And before we get into that, I haven't really been listening to a lot of new music. I just saw there's one story of something new coming out, and it's Blondie, you know, the band from the 80s, if I can find it here. They're coming out with a box set in July, and it's, okay, so Blondie is coming out with it's a box set of their albums, plus it's demos that have not been heard before. It's called Against the Odds, 1974 to 82. So those years, and total of 124 tracks. It's their first 6 studio albums. They have demos, outtakes, alternate versions, and rarities. And one song they just released, which is an old song and it's never been heard before, is Moonlight Drive, which is a Doors song. I listened to that. It's pretty good. And it's definitely from that period of the 80s when Blondie was very popular. You know, a lot of times bands go into the studio and they just mess around, or they record more songs than they need and they don't put them on the albums.
How much is this set going to be? Do you know?
I do know. Okay, so this not only is a 10 LP set, they have a 4 LP set, 8 CD set, and 3 CD format set. I did look up the vinyl, the 10 LP, and it's about $180.
Okay.
So it's not too bad. I forget what I saw the other day, and it was just, I wish I could remember, but it was just outrageous price.
I'm surprised, because a lot of bands are doing like collector's sets now. I'm surprised they didn't throw in like a t-shirt or a mug or a poster, you know, something to kind of commemorate this relaunch in a sense.
Yeah, I don't know if it includes I don't think it includes anything else. Yeah, when Kiss came out with Destroyer, there was all kinds of reprinted, I mean, maybe there was posters in there and stuff you really don't need.
Yeah, exactly. But it's the stuff that people like. AC/DC did a release. This was a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
But it had like Back in Black and Live Wire, and
okay,
there were several different CDs in there, but there were also posters and like guitar picks and like a program media guide, just stuff that fans enjoy.
I think that's a good price, though. If you don't have a lot of their older albums, they haven't really come out with a lot of new albums, you know.
No.
But
even if you just want to hear it digitally restored, you know, better quality at this point.
Yeah, because I'm a huge Kiss fan, and when the Destroyer box set, I don't know, I kind of passed on that. I don't know, there might have been some live stuff on there, but I swear it was like $250. And you're talking about one album that they're dedicating it to.
Right.
So I think this is a good price, $180. And that comes out, I know it comes out in July, so look for it. Another new album, this is just an album, is Journey. Yes, Journey's still around. They have, they've had a new lead singer for a long time. They released 3 songs off the new album. The new album's called Freedom. Now, I think this is a glitch on Apple Music, but there's 15 songs and it says it's 21 minutes, so that's not possible. The one song is called Don't Give Up on Us, and I think it's a really good song because the guy's voice, I don't know his name, but he kind of sounds like Steve Perry on this one. And the beginning has some synthesized keyboard, not exactly the same notes as Separate Ways, but once the keyboard like kind of ends, it almost sounds like Separate Ways, the guitar, bass, and then it goes into something different. But that's a pretty good song. The other one, Let It Rain, is kind of weird because it doesn't sound like Journey at all. More like Nickelback or something. I don't know what's going on there. I'm going to let the world know, but I love Kelly Clarkson. If you're listening, Kelly, I love you. She has a new EP out, and it's called Karaoke, like karaoke, right? Uh-huh. There's 6 songs on here. They're all cover songs. She does Billie Eilish, Happier Than Ever. I don't know if that's too soon to cover, a new song. The one that's really caught my ear, no, that sounds bad, but is Fake Plastic Trees, which is a Radiohead song. And there's Blue Bayou, Linda Ronstadt, and some other song I didn't recognize. We got Call Out My Name, Queen of the Night, and Trampoline. So check that out. Kelly Clarkson, that just came out. So there's a new Shinedown album coming out. I don't know any Shinedown.
I'm willing to bet you do. You probably just don't realize it.
Are they're hard, like hard rock? Or
yeah,
hard?
I mean, they're probably, I would put them along the lines of Kiss, AC/DC, something like that. They're not too hard, but they're not maybe just a step below Disturbed, that type of rock music. But
I think that's July 1st. I looked through the list. I didn't see hardly any other. I saw Neil Young, and I think Crazy Horse has another album. They've been coming out with albums like every year.
Weezer.
Oh yeah, Weezer. Weezer's doing a season.
Yeah, seasons.
Yeah, they did Spring. These are EPs. They're keeping pretty busy. They put out, I think, 2 albums last year. Yeah. So we're going to get 4 Weezer EPs.
We got 2 more after this
year, if you like Weezer. And I think that was it for the new music. So we're going to get into the soundtracks. What we're going to do is we have a top 10 list. I'm not sure where this list, it came from the internet, the internets we got this off of. And I think this is from last year, if I recall. I think it's pretty recent.
Well, if it's on the internet, it's true. So
yeah,
we're good.
This is someone's top 10 movie soundtracks. I don't know. Do you want to start, Jeremy?
Sure. Number 10, we got Saturday Night Fever. Did you see that one in the theater?
Yes. That's one of my favorites.
I did not see that one.
We might be talking about that a little later.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that soundtrack.
Yeah, I mean, it's loaded with hits.
That was huge for the Bee Gees.
Number 9 was Dazed and Confused. Now, is that based on Zeppelin?
I think the movie it's a 70s movie.
And that's, I have not actually seen this movie, believe it or not.
No, you have to see it.
It's one on my list to check out, but is this the movie where like all of the songs are played through the car radio, or most of them through the car radio?
I haven't seen it in a while. I just know I remember it being a good movie.
Okay. Just looking at some of the songs on here, you got Sweet Emotion, Love Hurts, Why Can't We Be Friends, Tuesday's Gone. I mean, those are some great, great songs. So
yeah, I think it's just one of those movies where it's the summer. Let's see, the summer of '76, and just kids hanging out, drinking, romance going on, all that.
Yeah,
sort of like American Graffiti, but '70s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 8, we have Almost Famous.
I like that movie.
Yeah.
Cameron Crowe.
Yeah. Nancy Wilson, was she in that, or is it just?
I don't think she's in it.
Okay. She's just mentioned in the notes. But some of the songs on here I don't necessarily recognize. I mean, Tiny Dancer is a big one, obviously, but I know Cat Stevens. I don't know if I know The Wind.
Yeah, I don't know that one. Yeah, Tiny Dancer, there's a scene, I think they're on the bus and they're all singing Tiny Dancer. That's a great scene.
But even I know a ton of Beach Boys songs and Feel Flows. That doesn't ring a bell by name. I might have to check this out just to listen to some of the music because I might actually know it more than I realize.
You know, Cameron Crowe, he was a reporter. I'm not sure what magazine. I want to say Rolling Stone. But when he was like 15 years old, 16. It's incredible. Like, wow. He got to meet all these bands. So this is kind of autobiographical movie.
Gotcha. Okay.
Our listeners, if you haven't seen Almost Famous, you got to see that movie.
Number 7, we got The Bodyguard with Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston.
I don't know if I've ever seen that movie.
I have never seen this. And this is another one. I'm looking at some of the songs on the list here, and I'm not... I Will Always Love You. Is that Dolly Parton?
Yeah, and that was huge for Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
That song. That's what, when the movie came out, I think that's when that song was huge, even though she was pretty, big at the time.
Right. I mean, I know I'm Every Woman, obviously. I Have Nothing.
I sing that all the time.
Do you really?
In the car.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about The Bodyguard?
No.
Okay. Above the Rim, checking in at number 6.
I've never seen that.
I've never even heard of this one, actually.
I guess Tupac was in that movie. Shakur.
Yeah. Is he still alive?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. There's rumors out there that he's hiding somewhere. I think Eminem once said that. I don't know.
My wife and I, when we got married, we went to Vegas for a honeymoon, and it was literally a week or two after Tupac got shot.
Oh, man.
I actually walked by the intersection there. So that was fresh in my mind at the time.
Gotcha. I do love the song Regulate.
Okay.
So I do know that one pretty well, but Afro Puffs? I don't know. The Dog Pound's Big Pimpin'. I thought that was like a Jay-Z song.
So we can't recommend Above the Rim.
Yeah, I can't personally recommend that one. Number 5, we got Superfly.
I've never seen Superfly.
I have not seen Superfly either.
But I'm thinking I should see Superfly. I don't know. I've heard of it. I'm thinking maybe that's a movie I have to see.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to check it out, I guess. This one's not jumping out at me.
Yeah. Now, number 4 is Goodfellas. I'm sure you've seen that.
I've seen that, yes.
I've seen that many times.
Yes, very good movie.
And again, these are soundtracks, not movies that we're talking about.
Yep.
So we got Frank Sinatra's My Way.
Great song.
Says that was in the credits. Let's see.
Layla.
Yeah, Layla. I don't really remember the music in this movie for some reason. I just remember the movie.
Yeah.
I think the movie overtakes the music. And of course, number 3, Pulp Fiction, one of my favorites. I love Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
This movie's odd if you haven't seen it. I'm sure most people have, but it's filmed, the scenes are out of sequence. And I actually had this idea one time, which I never did, was to take the movie and put it in sequence and see what it looked like.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds you, you're a Seinfeld fan. You know that episode where the trip, I think it is, where they're going backwards the entire time?
Where they're going backwards?
Yeah.
I don't remember that one.
Oh, man, there's an episode where it starts with the end of the episode.
Oh, okay.
And it progressively works back to the beginning of the episode.
I vaguely remember.
Okay.
Yeah, so Pulp Fiction, I actually love that soundtrack because Quentin Tarantino is a avid album collector, and he supposedly used music from his album collection, songs that weren't really that popular. I mean, we got Chuck Berry, You Can Never Tell, but some of these songs were the first time I heard these. This movie was in the 90s. So this kind of opened up for me some of these songs, like Al Green, Let's Stay Together.
Yep.
I probably heard that in the 70s. That whole soundtrack is pretty good.
I just want to add, when you get, it doesn't have to be movies, but just anything in general where you get an artist that you might not be familiar with, you hear a song from a soundtrack, at least for me, it inclines me to look deeper into that artist, especially if I enjoy hearing that track on the film.
And actually, this is pretty much powered by music, too. If you've seen this movie, you'll never forget the dance scene between John Travolta and Uma Thurman.
Right.
And that's when you can never tell. That's what they're dancing to.
Right.
And then we got number 2 is The Lion King. Probably won't put that on my maybe Jeremy.
You might hear about that one later.
Yeah. I think that wasn't it mostly, well, no, it wasn't mostly Elton John.
He had 3 or 4 songs on the album, but they had a lot of just musical Disney hits too.
Yeah.
It was very like songy, poppy.
I mean, we all know Hakuna Matata.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It means no worries.
I do like The Lion King, though. I saw that in the theater.
I've seen it several times in the theater because they've re-released it.
Mm-hmm.
They had that real-life action one not too long ago. So I watched that in the theater. I saw it when it got re-released in 3D in theater. And then I saw it when it was first out in 94, I think.
I remember seeing this with my wife, and when I came out to my car, someone had stolen my stereo. So that was memorable. It was one of those stereos that you can pop out, and someone broke the window and popped my stereo out.
Oh, that sucks.
You know, it's weird how you remember certain things, but I remember it was The Lion King we went to see.
I was supposed to see The Lion King at the drive-in initially, but the newspaper, the old media with black ink on a white piece of paper.
I think I remember that.
Okay. Our listeners might not, but they actually advertised that The Lion King was supposed to be showing with The Mask, I believe.
Okay.
And we got there, and it was neither The Lion King or The Mask. It was some awful love movie, and I had to sit at the drive-thru and watch this awful romance.
Sophie's Choice or something.
Yeah.
And then we have number 1. And what do our listeners think number 1 would be? Do you have any guesses out there?
Drum roll.
This was a huge movie. And it's Purple Rain. Yes, believe it or not, the Prince movie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this movie, I had this on beta. I don't know if they called it Betamax. That's how long ago. And I swear I watched this movie like once a week. I just love this movie. Not on my list, though. It almost made it.
You swear by the moon and the stars in the sky?
Okay. So we're going to get into our 4 favorite movie soundtracks. I know you're all excited out there. So I'm going to start. My first one is Saturday Night Fever. Now this was the first album I bought, was Saturday Night Fever. This came out on November 15th, 1977. I was 11 years old.
Wow.
And this is the first album I bought with my own money.
There you go.
Now this album came out before the movie, which I don't know how they do it now if it comes out with the movie. Film didn't come out till December 14th, about a month later. This soundtrack is, because it was my first album, and I listened to this a lot. So whenever I hear anything from this soundtrack, it just, takes me back. Like I mainly, side 1, we have Staying Alive, How Deep Is Your Love? Of course, it's the Bee Gees, Night Fever, More Than a Woman, I didn't really care for. One song I really loved, If I Can't Have You. I don't know why, I can't explain it. It was by Yvonne Elliman. I'm 11 years old, and I have a friend, a girl, who lives 2 houses down from me, and had a lot of memories with her. We weren't boyfriend and girlfriend. We were probably the only boy and girl that were actually just friends. I don't know. I mean, we're talking the 70s here. Plus, I was 11. But she had a cousin who would come over. I was just in love. I don't even remember her name. This came out in November, so I'm going to say it was probably the following summer. I was probably still listening to this album. That song really, 11-year-old, If I Can't Have You. I was probably thinking of her. I don't know. It's weird because I really like the first side, and then I really only like half this album. Well, no, wait, it's this album. I'm sorry. This album is, so it was a double album. That's the first time I heard the Bee Gees. And the Bee Gees, I didn't know were kind of big in the late 60s, early 70s.
Yep.
And this was sort of a comeback for them. And I don't think they were looking to be prominent on this album, but it just came to be. Because you have other, like I said, side 2, you got Ralph McDonald, David Shire, Walter Murphy. I mean, nobody knows who they are. Of course, we got Kool and the Gang, side 3, and then we got Jive Talking by the Bee Gees. You Should Be Dancing. And then another big one was Boogie Shoes. Mm-hmm. And I really liked Casey and the Sunshine Band. But then side 4 is kind of a, Disco Inferno by the Tramps. KG, I don't even know what that song is.
Sounds like a tragedy.
And Salsation by Shire, performed by David Shire. I think the main focus here are the Bee Gees and a couple other, songs on here. I found something interesting is that when they did the movie, or when they did the, the dance scene, they were dancing to a Boz Scaggs song.
Oh, yeah?
Called Lowdown. Boz Scaggs didn't want his song in the movie, that could have been, that song was pretty big, but it could have been a lot bigger. I guess they, had to edit it out of the movie. Yeah, it says his label, Columbia Records, refused to grant legal clearance for it, as they wanted to pursue another disco movie project, which never materialized. So he lost out on his song being in the movie.
Royalties probably lost a ton of those too.
John Travolta said that the Bee Gees weren't even involved in the movie in the beginning. So when they're doing the dance scenes and stuff, John Travolta said he was dancing to Stevie Wonder and Boz Scaggs. Robin Gibb, he said, we were recording our new album in north of France, and we'd written about and recorded about 4 or 5 songs for the new album. Robert Stigwood rang them from LA and said, we're putting together this little film, low budget, called Tribal Rights of a Saturday Night. So that was the original title. He said, would you have any songs on hand? And we said, look, we can't. We haven't any time to sit down and write for a film. And they didn't even know what the film was about. So the Bee Gees, they wrote these songs virtually in a single weekend. This is what's amazing. This is I think it's one of the greatest. I mean, it's on this top 10 list, but it's number 10. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it should be number 1. When a band like that or a group they're asked to write songs for a movie in a single weekend, 2-3 days, to just pump out, all these songs and for it to become so huge. That's what's amazing. I mean, you have bands like Boston who took 6 years to put out an album. So they're just, okay, let's get this done. This is the other interesting thing is the song Staying Alive. The engineer, Carl Richardson, he copied a few seconds of drumming from Night Fever. He cut out the piece of tape and glued the ends together, then fed it back into a recorder to create a new drum track. So he took one song, and that's before, digital, and you just go on the computer and edit things. So that's also pretty amazing, I think. That is one of my 4 soundtracks. Are you falling asleep out there?
Yeah, we're staying alive. We're trying to. Kidding. Did you rank yours like 1, 2, 3, 4, or are you just doing?
No, these are like 4 favorites.
Okay.
No, I don't have them rated.
Okay.
That's probably my number 1 because it was my first album I ever bought.
Gotcha. All right. I did rank mine,
So even before my first soundtrack, I found probably one of my first soundtracks that I ever listened to, and I have it here.
Ah, look at this.
And it's Peter Pan, Disney.
Nice.
That's not on my list, though. But this is the actual album. I know you can't see it, from when I was a Ute. Yep.
A wee little boy.
Yes.
All right. I ranked mine, so This for me checked in. I'll go 4, 3, 2, 1. So number 4, take you back to 1995. You remember the Batman Forever?
Yes.
Soundtrack? It's funny because I was obviously only 8 years old at this time, but music, I would latch on to something, usually a song, and then that would help me branch out. I kind of alluded to this earlier. I loved Kiss from a Rose by Seal. I thought it was a great song. It was played on the radio all the time. That probably helped, but it was different. It was slow, but not too like girly, not feminine. Just, I don't know. I loved the beat of the song. I loved the words. Really enjoyed it. But then I bought the soundtrack and stumbled upon bands that I also enjoy. First track on the album is Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me by U2. I love U2. I didn't know it then, but I guess I did. I didn't know it, but I knew it because even then I enjoyed the song. Second song by PJ Harvey was One Time Too Many. You had Brandy, Where Are You Now? I did listen to Brandy growing up. Mm-hmm. She was like a 90s pop star there for a while. You had The Hunter Gets Captured by the Game by Massive Attack and Tracy Thorn. Nobody Lives Without Love by Eddie Reader. Tell Me Now by Mazzy Star. The Offspring were on Batman Forever. I love The Offspring. Smash It Up was on that album. There Is a Light by Nick Cave. You had The Riddler by Method Man. The Passenger by Michael Hutchence. Crossing the River by the Devlins. 8 by Sunny Day Real Estate. And Bad Days by the Flaming Lips. This album actually hit number 5 on the Billboard Top 200 when it was out.
Well, I remember the U2 song because I was into U2.
Yep.
But you being 8 years old, maybe you never heard U2 before.
I mean, I might have
never heard The Offspring, so this was a springboard for...
Oh, it was an exploration for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to see that's a theme with my soundtracks. It really launched me into the music that I loved or grew to love. This also... in the United States, certification 2-time platinum. They sold over 2 million copies of the soundtrack. That surprised me because I thought I might be unique in this one. So we did the top 10 movie soundtracks of whatever list it came from. But I searched several different lists because I was just curious to see what other people were ranking highly and if I was on the right track with my albums or if I was just kind of out there. And I didn't see this one anywhere when I did, research. It wasn't until I kind of checked into Wikipedia and looked up the history of the album that I was like, holy crap, it did, it sold many copies. It was pretty popular. And, you do have some big names on there, big name bands.
Well, what's weird is that the movie, it's not one of the better Batman movies.
Yeah, no, it's not.
So maybe it would have done even better. I mean, it's amazing it did that good, but a lot of times the movie propels the soundtrack.
So that was, for me, that was my 4th favorite soundtrack to go over today.
What was Batman Forever? Was that
Alicia Silverstone?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was Tommy Lee Jones? No.
I don't know.
No, that was the one with Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
That might have been Batman Forever.
Let's see. Batman Forever cast. Tommy Lee Jones was in it. Val Kilmer played Batman.
Okay, there you go.
You had Drew Barrymore in there, Nicole Kidman.
That was the one with Jim Carrey.
Which means it was not, I said Alicia Silverstone. It was not her. I'm sorry.
Okay.
She was in Batman or Robin, maybe. I don't know. One of those. But anyway, Kiss from the Rose was the big selling point for me. I just grew to like the rest of the album as I listened to it.
So my next one is the Grease soundtrack. And I know they show this movie, on a loop sometimes. I actually saw this movie in the theater when it came out, and I was 12 years old. So I'm moving up from Saturday Night Fever, which I don't think I saw in the theater because I want to say Saturday Night Fever was rated R. And I watched it recently, and I'm like, it's not a great movie for a young kid to watch. There's some disturbing things in there. I mean, I thought it was a fun movie, but when I rewatched it, it's pretty serious, some stuff in there. So Grease, of course, is a fun movie. When it came out, it's the only movie I actually stayed for the second showing. They didn't kick us out. And again, I went to the theater with my friend from down the street. Her name was Karen. This was a time where her brother had a big album collection. I was also, at this time, starting to buy albums. But before karaoke, we would go in the basement and I would be Danny and she would be Sandy and we'd act it out. Just love this movie. Now, this is a odd album because it's one that I love and I will listen to, but I will, like I was telling Jeremy earlier, I won't go down the road in my car blasting the Grease soundtrack, Beauty School Dropout.
Why not?
It's raining on prom night. Maybe if the windows are up, maybe in the winter.
Roll the top down, roll the windows down.
This was from 1978, originally released from RSO Records, and then reissued by Polymore Records in 1984 and 91. That has sold 38 million copies worldwide. It's one of the best-selling albums of all time. This is why I'm surprised in that top 10 list. This is ranked at number 45, so someone does not like this album. And the song You're the One That I Want, it was a US and UK number 1 for John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. Now, John Travolta he had a short-lived singing career.
Woo, woo, woo.
He put out I want to say it had to be after this album. He put out an album called, and I'm not lying, Travolta Fever.
Oh, nice.
I want to say it was a double out because I know it had a gatefold. You like open it up and it was a picture of him wearing these tight white pants.
There's a visual we all wanted to see.
And I own that album. Sorry to say, I no longer do. Also featured the group Sha Na Na. This was my first introduction to Sha Na Na. I know they had a TV show. I might have watched the TV show too. Now the song Grease was written by Barry Gibb. So there we go, the Bee Gees, and sung by Frankie Valli.
You're just a closeted Bee Gees fan.
I am. I love the Bee Gees.
Bee Gees are great.
I'm coming out soon. So now what I found interesting too is the song Grease was sung by Frankie Valli, right, of the Four Seasons.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have Frankie Avalon singing Beauty School Dropout on this album. So we got the two Frankies on here.
Relax.
Relax.
I just said relax.
Oh, okay.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Sorry. You were talking about Frankies.
Yeah. This came out 2 months before the film. And with most musicals of this period, the vocals were recorded for the album release and were not recorded as the picture was filmed. So I guess they're lip syncing.
Couldn't tell.
And then the cover of the album is, of course, John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. Although they only appear on 7 of the 24 tracks.
Only.
Yeah, only. The songs I like on this are the ones that, like, I actually like. Well, I love Summer Nights, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard these songs. If you haven't, I dare you to go listen to the soundtrack.
Just go to a karaoke bar, you'll hear them.
Yeah. Hopelessly Devoted to You. You know, Sandy, I love. Stranded at the drive-in, branded a fool. What will they say? It's like my Elvis. Monday at school. See, Elvis could have sang that.
There you go.
Yeah, if he was still around. Maybe Elvis would have been in this movie. We don't know, you know?
I doubt it.
Some loving had me blind. Yeah, he would have done the snort.
Yep.
Okay, anyway. This is another double album we have here. We got four sides. And this is another one I like maybe half. You know, maybe they should have done just a single album, you know, with John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. I don't care for some of the, like the Sha Na Na ones. You know, we got even Hound Dog on here. Born to Hand Jive. I really never liked this song. This one, of course, Many Memories, you know, when the movie comes on. I own the DVD, of course, but probably one I'll watch once a year.
How about the VHS?
I don't have the VHS.
Ah, you're not a true fan.
Yeah. So that is my other soundtrack there.
That was your second one.
Second one, Grease.
So,
is the word.
Grease is the word. Coming in at number 3 for me, we have the Armageddon soundtrack. Do you remember this one? You remember that movie?
I remember, I think Aerosmith is.
So there's quite a bit of Aerosmith on there. They obviously had the huge hit, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, which was an amazing song. I, to this day, absolutely love that song. Just the passion behind Steven Tyler's voice while he's singing it. But this album, again, it's one of those, what was this, 97, I think maybe this movie came out. 97 or 98, which puts me at 10 or 11. So I really started to kind of zone in on my music, which we obviously know would become rock mostly and other stuff added in. But listen to the cast of artists that is on this album. Aerosmith, Journey, ZZ Top, Bob Seger, your favorite, Bon Jovi, Patti Smith, Our Lady Peace, and then you also have Trevor Rabin, Chantel Krivizuk, I'm not sure who that is. Yeah, and Sean Colvin. So
okay,
a couple of oddballs in there, but
Sean Colvin, Sonny Came Home. That's her one song that I know.
Okay. Well, this one was When the Rainbow Comes.
Okay.
Obviously, you hear those names, and there's some mega hits out there from those groups. On here, you had Roll Me Away for Bob Seger, which I think might have been newly released for this album.
I don't know that song.
I'm not sure. The Bon Jovi song, Mr. Big Time, was newer for the movie, I believe, too. But even Our Lady Peace, it's a band I really enjoy listening to. I wouldn't have realized that they were on this album if I didn't, grow to enjoy their music. The song on here was Starseed, which is not one of their bigger songs, but definitely a band that I love listening to. The highest position for this album on the US Billboard Top 200 was number 1.
Oh, wow.
At the end of the year, it settled in at number 15.
Well, that was a huge movie. I saw that in the theater.
Movie was huge, and sold over 4 million copies, 4 times platinum in the United States. For me, it was I don't want to miss a thing for sure, but even I remember really getting into ZZ Top after hearing LaGrange. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I had known the song, but I didn't know who sang it. Mm-hmm. So now, there wasn't the internet. Yeah. There was, but it wasn't what it is today. So I'd look at the back of the album and I'd see these artists, and that's how I would explore music. Mm-hmm. And I remember vividly stumbling upon ZZ Top after buying this album. I went out and actually bought their greatest hits album a day or two later, and I was listening to ZZ Top as well. Compliments of the Armageddon soundtrack. So it was a great movie. To me, it was a great soundtrack. Mostly because of the bands that were on it. To this day, they're still some of my favorite bands. So I guess even then I knew ultimately that I was zoning in on what I loved when it came to music. Mm-hmm. So that's my number 3 soundtrack.
Well, I was in the show tunes, when I was younger.
Yeah.
I'm thinking because I like Saturday Night Fever and Grease. I wasn't at the time maybe into rock and roll yet until like the late 70s, early 80s. I'm kind of going in order by year, I guess. I am going in order by year. So now we've graduated to the 80s. One of my favorite movies is Some Kind of Wonderful. Now, this soundtrack's a little strange because it captures the time period, though. It was... I
don't know. That's a Grand Funk Railroad song, isn't it?
Is it?
Some kind of wonderful. Yes, yes, she's...
So this movie was 87. A lot of the bands on this soundtrack we've never heard from again. I have the soundtrack. I just got it recently. I collect vinyl, but the vinyl for this is like $80 if you want this on vinyl. This is not on Apple Music.
Wow.
I couldn't find. I looked for it today. I thought it was on there, but it's not. You have some, like I said, interesting bands on here. We got Pete Shelley from the Buzzcocks, Do Anything. There's a band called Furniture. This is what I'm saying. You've never heard of these bands before. So they were a British new wave band from 79 to 91. And their song Brilliant Mind. I love this song, Brilliant Mind. I love the guy's voice. British new wave, just it's kind of a slow song.
I'm gonna check that one out. It's by Furniture, you said?
Yeah, Furniture.
All right.
Cry Like This by Blue Room. Kind of like an aha. But I also heard Eric Carmen.
The guy from South Park?
What are you talking about?
No.
Oh, okay.
Eric Carmen was in the Raspberries. And I wish I knew that he had a hit song. Anyway, kind of ballad, like slow, mushy song. Now, this song was in 4 scenes in the movie. Because there's a website, which is great. It shows you, it tells you the songs and tells you what scene. So all of these songs, I think, were in the movie. Which usually that's how the soundtrack
I would hope so.
goes. Yeah. No, sometimes they throw in.
Yeah, you're right.
One song I absolutely loved, and I love this band, is Flesh for Lulu. And Jeremy, maybe we'll do a whole podcast. But I go crazy. I just love I love this song. Anyway.
That part that got edited out is really funny. Sorry.
Okay. I want to say, maybe this is one of the greatest songs of the 80s. I Go Crazy. Do you know
Is this the Flesh for Lulu still?
Yeah, Flesh for Lulu.
I Go Crazy. It sounds vaguely familiar.
Because it had this guitar that really caught my attention, and it's almost like a ZZ Top sound. And it's kind of just a couple chords. It's not a whole guitar like sequence, but it's just that sound, that distorted sound. I don't know, the whole song, I love it. And then we got She Loves You by Stephen Duffy, who was actually one of the founders of Duran Duran. I just recently found that out.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And that's like a kind of a bouncy, happy song. Nothing like Duran Duran. Jesus and Mary Chain, who I really liked. They had an interesting sound. In the movie, well, first of all, the characters in the movie, they were named after the Rolling Stones. Like, we got Keith, we got Watts, and we got Amanda Jones. Now, Amanda Jones was a Rolling Stones song. This scene in the movie, this song is playing in the background. But Keith's sister, she's leafing through his album collection, and she looks at him and she says, "I'm looking for that song about the guy that killed himself for the girl that hated his guts." And I love that line, because that's sort of the premise of the movie. Or his sister, who doesn't like her brother, thinks, because he's pursuing this girl.
Right.
That sums up the whole premise of the movie. And then he tells her to get out of his room, because she's touching his albums or something. But so then we have The Shyest Time by the Apartments, which I've never heard of. Now, the lead singer sounds sort of like a chipmunk. But this song kind of has a Simple Minds sound to it. And then we got a Miss Amanda Jones. Now, they couldn't use, and I got this info from Leah Thompson herself, who plays Amanda Jones, who I met at an autograph show recently. Had her sign my original Some Kind of Wonderful poster.
Nice. But
she told me that I guess the Rolling Stones would not allow them to use their song in the movie. So they have another band singing this song. Well, it's a woman singing, and it's March Violets, they're called. Then we have the weirdest song on the soundtrack, and it's Can't Help Falling in Love. It's an Elvis song.
Oh, yeah.
And it's by a band called Lick the Tins.
Okay.
Up until today, because I'm just lazy, eventually I get to Wikipedia and look up stuff. But I thought the person singing was like an 8-year-old boy. And like maybe they shrunk down Bono because he has like an Irish accent. But it's a woman singing.
Oh, geez.
And then when I said this to my wife, she's like, yeah, because she knew this song or from the soundtrack. She's like, yeah, I knew it was a woman. I don't know. Anyway, you have to listen to this song. If you can find it on YouTube, look up Lick the Tins, Can't Help Falling in Love. And listen. I'm going to play it for Jeremy after this.
Okay.
And then we have, the last song is Turn to the Sky, which is also the March Violets. And I actually like them. I don't know too much. I don't know anything about them, but I like the woman's voice. I like their cover of the Rolling Stones song. And also one other thing is that there is a song, I don't know how many songs in the movie that aren't on the soundtrack, but one of them is a Billy Idol song.
Ooh, nice.
Called Catch My Fall. It's not on the soundtrack. I grew up in the 80s. There's a lot of 80s movies that I love because they were, filmed in the 80s. They were about the 80s. Those are the best. I know with Stranger Things, they kind of, obviously not filmed in the 80s, filmed now, but about the 80s. But the best thing are some of these 80s movies, and this is one of my favorites. This is a John Hughes movie, by the way, too. And it's one of his lesser known movies because he did Breakfast Club.
Yep.
I think he did 16 Can, all those.
Yeah. Was he Home Alone?
I think he did half the 80s movies that. Yeah. So that's my.
What was that again?
Some Kind of Wonderful.
Some Kind of Wonderful. Got it.
Oh, Jeremy, if you didn't see the movie, you got to see the movie.
Okay. So number 2 for me, and again, unfortunately, it's a theme of my childhood. I think we both kind of went the same route. This is a lot of, like childhood nostalgia.
This isn't Rambo or something.
No, not Rambo. But this was recently re-released. So if you're younger, my album is Space Jam. Oh. But it's the one from like 1996 with Michael Jordan.
Okay.
Not
the original.
Not LeBron James.
Mm-hmm.
Big song on the album was I Believe I Can Fly by R. Kelly.
Yeah.
But to
never
me...
Never heard of him.
Yeah. I wish I'd never heard of him. If only we knew then what we know now. This album to me... I have it number 2 on my list. It was kind of the first, what do I want to say, my adventure, I guess you can put it, into R&B and hip hop.
Okay.
I was not allowed to listen to a lot of like cursing, swearing as a kid. So
yeah,
any rap or, anything like that, late 80s, early, like rap was becoming bigger and bigger throughout the 90s, but I wasn't allowed to listen to that kind of music. Well, this was not cursing and swearing, but it was a different beat, different style. So that always sat with me.
Well, it was more R&B. Yeah, more. That's like a ballad.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But the whole album is considered R&B and hip hop and pop. It is funny. The first song on the album is actually the Steve Miller Band, "Fly Like an Eagle."
Oh, okay.
But then after that, you got Coolio. You've got the hit song that you still hear to this day, "Space Jam." You'll hear that at bars. You'll hear that at nightclubs. Like, you'll hear that everywhere. Sports events. "I Believe I Can Fly," which was huge. You have "Hit 'Em High," which is Busta Rhymes, Coolio, LL Cool J, and Method Man. You have "I Found My Smile Again" by D'Angelo. "For You I Will," Monica. Monica was like big in the 90s. You had "Round and Round," Salt and Pepper, Upside Down. Robin, "Giving You All That I've Got." She was big in the 90s. Barry White and Chris Rock did a cover of "Basketball Jones," which was a great version of the song. "All for One," "I Turn to You." Yet another R. Kelly and Jay-Z, "All of My Days." "That's the Way," I Like It by the Spin Doctors. And then the last song was just Bugs Bunny. It was like a goofy Bugs Bunny sounding song.
Yeah, my son liked that movie. We had that on DVD at one time.
Yeah, I have the VHS somewhere for that.
I didn't see the new one though.
But yeah, so I think, aside from the R. Kelly, "I Believe I Can Fly," it was kind of my introduction to that R&B hip hop kind of genre. And it was something that I wasn't used to listening to because I grew up, my parents loved rock and roll.
Yeah.
I eventually grew up to love rock and roll. I branched out, but this was kind of that first, step onto that branch, I guess you could say. This one actually hit number 5 for the U.S. top R&B hip hop albums on the Billboard. It was number 15 on the U.S. top R&B hip hop album by end of year. And they sold over 6 million copies of this album.
That's pretty good.
6 times platinum. So, yeah, oh man, how do we edit out a dog barking?
I don't know.
I'm just kidding. So
we got noises going on. But
I'm not going in order of year as you have been, but I've now hit 95, 96, and 97.
Okay. Well, my next one. Now, this is my last one.
I'm pretty sure my next one is 94.
It's 92. Okay, so we're in the 92. I've gotten through the Bee Gees, John Travolta singing. The 80s I got through. The new wave, right?
Yep.
So what's next? Say 91, 92. Something I really got into is grunge. In 91, here's a question for you, Jeremy.
Okay, I'm ready.
Which came first, Pearl Jam or Nirvana?
Pearl Jam.
Okay, it's a trick question, really.
Damn it.
Because Pearl Jam 10 came out in August 91. Nirvana's Nevermind, September. But technically, Nirvana's first album was in 1989.
Okay.
But we're going to say you're right because, well, the other way around is the top selling albums, 10 came out before Nevermind.
Okay.
Because we didn't know Bleach. And I think it was probably, they didn't put out that many albums. Nobody knew who Nirvana was. And probably re-released it, I would say, after Nevermind.
Yeah.
I had 10 in 91, and I bought Nevermind. So this movie came out in 92, but it was filmed in 91. So this is another Cameron Crowe movie. We can kind of say he was in sync with what was going on. Sorry, I didn't tell you the movie. It's called Singles. Have you ever seen this movie?
No,
it's a great movie. There's not much going on in the movie, I have to say. Eddie Vedder's in the movie. We've got Alice in Chains. We've got...
I love Alice in Chains.
Lane Staley is in the movie, performing.
Okay.
We've got Chris Cornell. We've got Soundgarden performing. But Eddie Vedder is actually... He's in the fictional band Citizen Dick with Matt Dillon. And I think Stone Gossard, another member of Pearl Jam, is in this band. I saw this movie when it came out. I love Bridget Fonda. I watched all her movies. I had all her but I just found out recently, I don't know, maybe 3-4 years ago, I found out that Pat Denizia from the Smithereens is in this movie.
Nice.
He's actually, I just watched it recently. He's in the credits. He had a name. He's only in it for like 30 Seconds. His name is Sid, and he's working at, I think, the coffee shop, and he's sweeping. You see him sweeping. Now, Cameron Crowe was a Smithereens fan. There's another scene. There's a scene with Linda, the character, Kira Sedgwick, and Steve, who was played by Campbell Scott. She goes back to his apartment. They're listening to albums, and they're sitting there in front of his album collection. And they have some albums propped up, and they're sitting on the floor. But in between them, the first album you see propped up is the Smithereens, Especially for You. So I thought that was kind of cool. This soundtrack has, of course, grunge music on it. The movie was filmed in Seattle. A combination. It's not all grunge, but we've got Soundgarden with a song called Birth Ritual. We've got Pearl Jam with State of Love and Trust. We got Mudhoney. That was another Seattle grunge band with Overblown. Now, Paul Westerberg. I love the Replacements. He was the lead singer of Replacements. He has a song, Waiting for Somebody. We got Jimi Hendrix on here. May This Be Love. Screaming Trees is on here. Nearly Lost You. I love that song. And Smashing Pumpkins with Drown. This is one of my favorite movies. Like I said, I was totally in the grunge. Love Nirvana. I wish I had seen them before Kurt Cobain, killed himself, supposedly. The rumors are.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen this movie, check it out. Again, it's a Cameron Crowe movie, so he's got a pretty good track record. Again, this is from 1992. Great soundtrack, especially if you love grunge, and also if you love like Nirvana and Pearl Jam, those bands, and you haven't seen this movie, you got to see this movie. So that was my last one, singles.
Okay. Checking in at number 1 for me is The Lion King from 1994. This is my all-time favorite Disney movie, my all-time favorite soundtrack. Can you feel love tonight? Right now I can't. I'm sure everybody has seen this movie. It's become so big that it became a Broadway play, one of the now most popular Broadway plays. The beginning, you've got animation. Obviously, it's jungle animals out in the wilderness, kind of showing that the lions are the king of the jungle in a sense. And you've got Simba, the young lion, being born to the circle of life. Just kind of this energetic song that's gathering everybody around to see what's going on. But then you get a lot of, and I alluded to this earlier, but you get that poppy kind of, I just can't wait to be king,
No, it's a fun movie.
You have Be Prepared, which is another kind of just poppy song that, it's like, these were Disney sing-along songs, a lot of this stuff. For years, like, people would sing along with these songs because they were just catchy tunes, almost like show tunes in a sense, where they were just a catchy beat, and then they came up with the lyrics to go with it. It
was probably the biggest film of that year.
Absolutely.
And as far as animation.
Yes.
I mean, that's when Disney was putting out, like Pocahontas and I haven't seen a Disney movie in a long time. And I want to go back and watch, the newer ones too.
Yes.
But that we used to go to the theater and we had to see the Disney movies.
Always, yeah, for sure.
Even The Little Mermaid.
Everybody knows Hakuna Matata. You were singing Can You Feel the Love Tonight. What was interesting was they had kind of these animation versions of these songs, and then Elton John also released versions of these songs. So there's actually 2 versions of Can You Feel the Love Tonight. There's 2 versions of The Circle of Life. There's 2 versions of I Just Can't Wait to Be King, because Elton put his own twist on it. And they were just as good as the movie, even though they were, slightly different. And that might be just because I am a fan of Elton John. I don't know, but I thought he did a great job of making a rendition that was real as opposed to a rendition that was, specifically for animation. I was always blown away by that. They actually, little fun fact about this, an expanded version of the soundtrack featuring 30 minutes of previously unreleased material was released as part of the Walt Disney Records The Legacy Collection in 2014. So an extra 30 minutes of soundtrack that was previously unreleased was re-released. This hit number 1 on the Billboard 200. The soundtrack settled in at number 4, and there were over 10 million copies sold in the United States. Hit diamond status. It was huge. And
I think I had the soundtrack at one time.
Yeah, I still do somewhere for sure. But this, as I said, it's my all-time favorite Disney movie. What's amazing to me now, being old, I was 7 years old when this movie came out. So I think it was like Aladdin. I love Aladdin, but it was just kind of ahead of my memory, like, period. I was probably only like 5 when Aladdin came out, so I didn't really remember it. But The Lion King is one of the first Disney movies that I remember. Like, I remember where I was when I saw it in the theater. I remember I saw it with both my mom and my dad because my parents obviously were divorced. I had there was Lion King trading cards. Like, I had those. I had Lion King bed sheets and comforter and the action figures and just anything Lion King. I had it. And that soundtrack, I played it over and over and over again. It's just one of those that, you know, I look back now and the message it was sending in the movie, I didn't even understand, like Mufasa dying, you know, spoiler alert. I didn't understand.
Soon, Jeremy.
Yeah. I didn't understand a lot of that stuff. I didn't understand young Simba trying to take over and inherit his place as the rightful kid. Like, I just loved the movie itself, and the songs were probably a part of it. Because you think of something like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I will always remember the Oompa Loompa songs.
I want an Oompa Loompa now!
I will always remember Gene Wilder, like, calling for, you know, just... And I think The Lion King, for me, was that. It was the music as well as the film. And that's why the soundtrack has always stayed with me, because I vividly remember specifically the music of the film.
Yeah, for me, it was going way back. Yeah, but it was still Disney. It's like Jungle Book.
Yep.
Pinocchio was a big one.
Those are all good. But Lion King was kind of the first one. So Aladdin was released somewhere near it. But you alluded to Pocahontas. There was like a Disney princess period where it was like The Little Mermaid.
Yeah. But every year,
Beauty and the Beast.
Disney was coming out with these.
And they seemed more like girl type movies. And then The Lion King popped up, and that was, to me, the more masculine one. And I think that's why...
Beauty and the Beast was one of my favorites.
I love Beauty and the Beast. That was my first Disney on
And Aladdin, too. But, but I haven't gone back. I haven't watched those in a while.
Right.
So I was watching more horror movies than Disney, I guess. Now. Before we end this, we're going to do something fun. We're going to do some trivia between Jeremy and I. We're going to do 5 questions. Okay, so Jeremy has a 1970s rock and roll lyrics. He's going to ask me a question, and then I'll ask him a question, and I have 70s music trivia. Okay, I'll give Jeremy an easy one.
I hope.
And there's no prizes, by the way. Who had the hit in 1976 with the song Silly Love Songs? Was it A, Paul McCartney, B, George Harrison, or C, Ringo Starr?
I think that's going to be A, Paul McCartney.
That is correct.
Woo. All right. Because it's a wild world, what does Cat Stevens say it's hard to get by just upon? A, trust, B, a smile, or C, others' kindness?
That would be B, a smile.
That is correct.
Okay. It's 1 for 1. Okay, here's a hard one.
Uh-oh.
Which of these songs did the Carpenters release first?
Oh, man.
A, Superstar, B, Close to You, or C, Goodbye to Love?
I'm going to say B, Close to You.
You are correct.
All right. What do the Grassroots want Temptation Eyes to do tonight? A, stop their crying, B, look their way, or C, love them?
I'm going to say B, look their way.
Okay, where are the answers? It's C, love them.
Uh-oh.
Wah, wah, wah.
Where is that? Okay.
That was hard, sorry. I stumped the Schwab, the musical Schwab.
In which year did the Doors release the song Riders on the Storm as a single? Was it A, 1971, B, 1973, or C, 1975?
I'm going to say 1975. It's probably going to be B.
It is A, 1971.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wasn't that released after the death of...
Oh, I just broke a glass.
Yeah, I see that. Who the hell sang that song?
What?
Riders on the Storm. Like, who was the lead singer?
It was Jim Morrison.
Oh, it was Jim Morrison?
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought he didn't do that song.
Yeah. Riders on the Storm.
That's so I was thinking it was later, because I thought... In Stairway to Heaven, who does Led Zeppelin see down the road? A, a wino. B, an angel. C, themselves.
A wino.
That is correct. Trying to find the answers.
Oh, I just learned something because I didn't know they were saying wino. I thought he was saying wind on down the road.
Yeah.
As we wind on down... He's saying wino?
Yeah, apparently it's a wino.
That's a misprint.
Moops.
Okay, Jeremy. Which Donna Summer song contains the phrase, someone left my cake out in the rain? A, MacArthur Park. B, I Feel Love. Oh my God, there's a misprint in this book. Or C, I Feel Love. So
I'm going to say A.
that is right. Well, that's there twice. What kind of book is this?
All right. Now that he's 18, what does Alice Cooper say he wants to do? A, turn 19. B, get away. Or C, look to the future.
B, Getaway.
That is correct. That was supposed to be a harder question.
Well, I can hear the song.
Yeah, I know. That's the idea, isn't it? All right, we both got one wrong going into the final question here, right?
I think you have one more. I have one more to ask you, right? I don't know.
I think we both each have one more to go.
Okay. Which Elton John song contains the phrase, where the dogs of society howl? A, Philadelphia Freedom. B, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Or C, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
Goodbye, Yellow Brick Road.
Okay.
All right.
So last question.
In Ventura Highway, what do some people say to America about the town? A, it's a tourist trap. B, it doesn't look good in snow. Or C, you can never go home from there.
A.
It's a tourist trap?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't look good in snow.
Oh.
You got that wrong on purpose, didn't you?
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. You've been a good crowd. Well, that does it for our show today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Jeremy and I, we won't be back till August for a regular show because I will be in Sweden for a while. So we'll be back in August with a new show. And we're going to be talking about forgotten bands. Thanks for listening.
Adios.
Intro and exit music by the band 99%. Today's show was produced and edited by Jim Thatcher. Jim and Mike Talk Music is recorded at Did You Say
7
Studios in Washington, New Jersey. You can find Jim and Mike Talk Music on Apple Music, Spotify, Podbean, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
The songs Monster Polka by Poco Band, Sunglasses by Super Rare, and Ictus by Viscid, used with royalty-free permission.